Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Soccer here on Let's Talk Sport on YouTube. I'm Stanley and I'm here joined this week by Seb True and Luke Tanner for this week's show, where we're going to be discussing: should football have a salary cap, the UEFA Champions League roundup, and who will win the race for the top four in the Premier League. Lads, it's going to be a big show this week, and we're going to start off with the salary cap question, the big controversial question. Should football introduce a salary cap? Seb, I'm going to start off with you on this opinion. I know you think very strongly on this topic. Should football have a salary cap?
I'd like to be able to give an answer that's as simple as either yes or no, but I think it digs a bit deeper than that. I'd like to think that morally I should say yes. You know, the money that football players get is increasing so high that even our own economy can't follow. But then I think of how a salary cap can be introduced and in what way. Is it FIFA? Is it the Premier League? Is it the Bundesliga? Et cetera, et cetera. I think feasibly it's not possible. Imagine if we have a salary cap, say for, let's just say arbitrarily 50 years, and inflation exceeds the salaries that football players are allowed to obtain. Then the owners will be pocketing more money, but still giving the football players that salary that's stayed constant throughout the years. So I think a salary cap actually invites more exploitation than it relieves it of. So I'd say for the moment, no, unless a real plan were to be put in place that makes sure that the salary cap grows over time and makes sure that the money from owners that they pocket is distributed down through the clubs or the community. So there are a lot of factors just to say neither yes nor no, but I'd like to think yes, but I think realistically without a proper plan in place, which I don't, and if there were a plan in place, I don't think it'd follow my same ideology. So I'd have to go with no at the moment.
Luke, what's your opinions on the salary cap? Obviously, it all come about when we were discussing Mo Salah's contract situation. You know, the reports that he was offered 375k by Liverpool, once in excess of 400k. And then we were talking about the likes of Messi's wages, Ronaldo's wages, and Mbappe potentially being on 700k a week at Real Madrid if he signs for them next summer. We will talk about that and how really a big proportion of the transfer fees and sign-on bonuses, wages is actually going to agents as well. So, it's a bit of a minefield, Luke.
Yeah, I think it is a bit of a minefield about the agent thing. I think the agent fees are getting reduced, so the agents will only earn up to 10%, which is a massive thing. That's why you were seeing Mino Raiola so desperate to move Erling Haaland last summer, because he knew that he would get a massive slice of an agent fee compared to when he moves this summer, because he's not going to get as much money. Back to the salary cap, I completely agree with what Seb has said. I think football has hit a stage where it is so big. There's so much money involved. How do you cap it all? I know there's a salary cap in rugby. I think, rugby's like the big one. Rugby, the NFL. So there are sports that have managed to successfully have a salary cap, but none of the sports generate the same money as football does. No one, look at the TV viewings. Like, an average Premier League game draws way much more money than the Super Bowl. Like, football is such it just generates so much money. Like, I don't know how you'd put a salary cap in without clubs finding ways around it to give players more incentives. Trying to think, if you, let's say there was a salary cap, you pay no one over 100 grand a week, let's say, but clubs will still find ways to get players to sign that will incentivize them, that will earn more than the £100,000 a week. They might get a nice car, a nice house.
Or even bonuses, because bonuses don't count into your typical salary. So you say 100 grand a week, that's before tax, for instance, then suddenly bonuses don't count into that. So there are probably ways around it. That's the big problem that you're saying. But just because a loophole is possible doesn't mean something should not be implemented by principle.
Yeah. I do feel like you see with Liverpool, like, their contracts are mainly performance based. So when Liverpool did well, you got bonuses, the salaries went up, I think Liverpool's wage bill became like the third biggest in the league because we won the Premier League, won the Champions League, won the Club World Cup, the Super Cup. And now Liverpool are trying to change the contract so there's a bigger base wage that isn't so incentivized compared to contracts before. So to stop that massive hike in the wage bill. But I think a salary cap could be introduced, but as Seb said, like, I couldn't really trust them to implement it properly. And I just couldn't imagine them doing it in the correct way that would benefit clubs in the lower league, clubs in grassroots. Like, look what we're seeing at the moment with Derby, with Bury, with Macclesfield. Clubs got out of business or going to go out of business because of poor mismanagement of money. So I do think that a massive thing needs to happen at some point, but it's whether or not it's going to get done. But it's another thing altogether.
I'll just add another side point onto all that. If these contracts are being offered to these players, say for instance Mbappe, Salah, etc., then that surely means the money is available. If you limit the amount the footballers earn, where does that extra money go? It goes right into the pocket of the owners. And then I know that Joe said in our group chat that one thing you could do is force them to give it to a charitable cause and things like that. But then why would an owner, a billionaire, invest in a club knowing that his profits will not even go anywhere near him? It will just completely destabilize the way football clubs get revenue initially from these top owners and also how they generate it. I think it'd create really quite an earthquake in football finances if we were to have a salary cap. I'm not all against it, but if there's a structure in place that makes it fair for everyone at each level, great.
Yeah.
But I think it just invites a lot of trouble.
I think the Super League tried it. It's one of the things on the Super League that there'd be a salary cap as well. But yeah, again, how that would be implemented, it's a completely different ball game. And to be honest, I don't see it coming anytime soon. I think the money's just going to go up and up and up and up.
That's called inflation, Luke. That usually does happen. It does go up.
Yeah, you're going to have to see like a really big team go bust, practically get liquidated and everything before you see a change in salary cap. Let's say Barca went bust, like proper bust, no return for them, and they went liquidated and stuff like that. Then you'd see change because it would be a big club, a massive club fallen. Just look at Everton, big club, poorly run financially, leaking money all over the place. Like if they go down, they might never come back up again. They might fall down the divisions because of the amount of money that has been mismanaged.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, obviously, you guys know my opinion. I think there should be a salary cap, but obviously, like you've set out the points, it's very difficult to implement it. It's like the whole, obviously, like the tax idea, as they're called, like the football tax, where the money goes to a charitable cause or gets distributed down the leagues. The problem is, will it be distributed fairly? Another idea would be to put it in some sort of like pot, you know what I mean, football pot. But then, so if a club's struggling financially, they can go into that pot and it can help the likes of stop Bury going out of business, etc. But
Joe wants the EU to be implemented into football.
The EU, yeah. Let's not bring politics into this.
It's the only fair comparison to make.
Yeah, that's a fair point actually. Yeah, why am I trying to turn football into the EU? I don't know. UEFA and FIFA are a bit corrupt, so let's leave it out there. Salary cap. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Begoin is in the comments. He says salary cap every day. #fair game. So
There's no such thing as that in football anymore. There's no such thing.
That's gone a while ago. Moving on to the second topic, the Champions League roundup. So yeah, we've had lots of action over the last couple of weeks. We have got 2 games being played tonight. It's Juventus and Villarreal, who are 1-1 after the first leg, and Lille versus Chelsea. Chelsea 2-0 up after the first leg. So let's be honest, with all due respect to Lille, we can box Chelsea off as a quarter-finalist.
Yeah.
And then obviously last week we had.
That's if they can get to the north of France, you know.
Well,
I heard reports that Thomas Tuchel's driving a double decker that's going to be parked on the pitch for their game. So, yeah, they'll get there.
What's the implication of driving a double deck onto the pitch? You're saying that he parks the bus.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any of this. No.
Yeah, I know.
No.
You know, I'm teasing.
No.
That takes me back to 2014 when Liverpool were in the title race, and they lost to Mourinho's Chelsea 2-0 at home, and they ended up obviously losing the title. And I remember seeing me Nan the next day, and she goes, "God, they lost yesterday, didn't they?" She knows nothing about football, by the way, with all due respect to me, Nan. And she said, Liverpool lost yesterday because Chelsea parked the bus outside the stadium and they couldn't get in. No, Nan, that's not what park the bus means. That's what they said on the radio. They parked the bus. I went, no, Nan, that's not what parking the bus means, Nan. I understand,
metaphor.
She's 84 now, and she was in the late 70s at the time. But I still try not to laugh to that day. It's like when Brexit happened. She was like, "Oh, the English clubs can't play in Europe anymore." No, Nan, Brexit has no effect on the Champions League. Comedy gold. But yeah. Anyway, the roundup of the Champions League, big results last week in the games you had. On Tuesday night, you had Inter Milan with a 1-0 win at Anfield. City drawing 0-0 with Sporting Lisbon, but they were already 5-0 up from the first leg, so that was pretty standard for them. Just a little training game. Where are we? Whilst I just find the scores again. Mine, it's gone blank. There we go. Yeah, Bayern 7-1 winners against Salzburg, and PSG, going out 3-1. Away to Real Madrid. We'll start off with last week's fixtures first, and then we'll move on to this week. Let's start off with the Bayern score, lads. Bayern Munich, are they favourites for this Champions League, do you reckon?
No. No, they're not favourites for the Champions League. I still think it's the two English clubs, City and Liverpool, are the favourites for this competition. You'd say City are probably the favourites because of if you lose your first final, the next time you get in the final, you usually end up winning it. So no, City for me are the favourites for the Champions League, followed by Liverpool. Then you can probably Bayern and Chelsea are probably there underneath, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll go on to the side note of Bayern Munich. I agree with Luke that you've got City, Liverpool, and third place with Bayern. It shouldn't be ignored that they scored 7 goals against this Salzburg team. Even though Salzburg at the beginning of the game were really going for it in some way, and it was kind of unfortunate. That first game, the 1-1, Salzburg were really good against Munich. The thing about Bayern Munich is their form isn't great recently. They score less if we're taking out the 7-1, and they've drawn a lot of silly games or lost silly games like to Bochum or to Mönchengladbach in the league as of January and February. But Bayern Munich don't lose 2 games in a row. If they lose once, they learn from it and do everything right in the next game. That's Julian Nagelsmann, and now he's got the tools at his disposal to be able to rectify errors that he's made in the first leg, which he did against Salzburg. That's pure proof of it. 1-1 in the first leg. How did he improve it? Change the team a bit. And that's why I think Bayern Munich will get to the final, because over 2 legs, I think they can beat anyone, and comfortably. In a one-off game in a final, he can get it wrong, say, against a Liverpool or a Manchester City, because they are such good teams. He could get it wrong against Juventus in a final, in all fairness. But I think just over 2 legs, he has the superior factor. And I think that they get to the final, but I'm not sure they win it. I do put them third favourite, like Luke said, behind Liverpool and City. Other games as well, like went on. What was last week, Judge? Just refresh my memory. Which one?
Liverpool lost to Inter 1-0 at Anfield. Yeah, wasn't a vintage performance. Wasn't a particularly great game to watch. Liverpool missed chances. Just a sloppy bit of passing out from the back, and they got punished by an absolute great Lautaro Martinez shot. Not the end of the world, to be honest, that Liverpool lost that game. I think it will actually serve them better push on for the rest of the season. Yeah, it wasn't a great game. Wasn't vintage. Liverpool probably should have scored a few. Salah kept on hitting every single post at that game at least a couple of times. Probably should have had a hat trick. Diaz shot blocked off the line by Vidal. Yeah, I thought Inter played well. I love it how Twitter afterwards saying that, Inzaghi, completely out tactic Jurgen Klopp over 2 legs. Well,
Luke
if that
takes
was
everything
the case,
against Liverpool to heart, doesn't he? He's going to
No,
find the Twitter
no.
troll and say, "Oh my God, look how they're dissing my boy."
No, it's just funny, right? When people say, "Oh, look, Inzaghi just absolutely he had Klopp's number over 2 legs." It's like, no, he didn't, because he'd be in the draw for the next round.
Luke, don't entertain Twitter accounts that have about 3 followers. I could go on for about years if that were the case. But I think there's a fair point. Yeah, it is worrying. I think the goal that they conceded against Martinez is a bit more of a worrying one. The fact they couldn't really play out properly from the back at that point. And I'm just a bit. I know I slate Van Dijk because everyone just keeps praising him, so I try counteracting it. But he was slow to cover there. He was really slow to cover. And I think it's okay in Europe. I think they get away with it. I think it's fine. The game is not as quick as in the Premier League, so I think it's not so much of a problem.
Don't blame Van Dijk for that, because
no, I don't either.
If he goes and engages and he gets and Martinez jinks past him, everyone's going, "You see, Van Dijk, he got done by this Martinez fella."
Listen, we can play all sorts of hypotheticals, but my point is, he is slow to cover. Even if he's not going to the tackle, just covering that space, he is slow to do so and close down the space.
That's probably my only negative on him. When he's in the fullback area, not engaging is great, but when it's in the centre, sometimes he just needs to engage a little bit more. Because you saw in that game, Martinez was going to run at him and thought, "Nah, no, thank you, not having that today."
Enough Liverpool talk. There's another match that went on that was a bit more talk. That was a bit more.
Yeah, I was about to say.
PSG and Real Madrid, right?
Yes. Before you go on, guys, Stu says in the comments, which does tie us in nicely to PSG and Real Madrid and then Manchester City. That's why I'm just jumping in here. He says, "Hi guys, good to see all 3 of you. Why are Man City always classed as favourites despite always bossing it on the big stage, exactly like PSG?